I was invited there by the government, and while I was there, this crisis happened to hit. And I saw firsthand what was happening there with my own eyes. And I was meeting some of the people in the government, so I could see the impact of this crisis on England. Some days back, the ambassadors from these countries came to see me. We generally meet every now and then. So some of the ambassadors came, and they also said, you know, they explained to me what the real issues are. I think what is happening is that Asia is growing at a global level, and this is a massive opportunity for Asian countries, not the crisis, but the trajectory of where the world is heading. It is a massive opportunity for Asian countries, and specifically, it is a big opportunity for big Asian countries. There is a short-term disruption, but I think in the long term, the way the economics in the world is working, large countries like India and China will benefit. How much we benefit is going to be determined by how we approach, as I said in my speech, how we approach the world, how we think about the world. If we get entangled in our internal discussions, if we start fighting internally, we will find that we will miss the boat, the opportunity that is facing us, that is staring us in the face. I think there are 2 or 3 core areas where we have to have a clear and strategic understanding. And I think this is something that should go across party lines. It is not something that is restricted to one party. And this was the thrust of my speech in Parliament. I think energy, education, and infrastructure. I think these 3 things are where we have to focus. And I think as a nation, we have to develop we have to have a discussion and develop a consensus on where we are heading on these 3 things. What I said in my Parliament speech essentially was that, look, it is very clear to everybody that nuclear power is the fuel of the future. It is very clear also that we need to diversify our energy. There should be consensus on this. Internally, if you spoke to the people from all parties, there was consensus. The sad thing about the nuclear debate, which we saw and was not apparent to the outside world, was there was universal agreement internally that this is the correct thing. There was agreement in the BJP party. There was agreement even among left MPs. There was universal agreement that this is absolutely the right thing. You've seen now, suddenly, you know, people are saying how much money is going to come from the nuclear deal. But that consensus, internal consensus, remained internal. And the leadership of the big parties, in a sense, didn't remove the curtains from that internal consensus. They refused to open the curtains and let the Indian people actually see that there was a consensus. And that to me was the sad thing about the nuclear deal. And we will be faced with decisions like this again and again. We will be faced with decisions like this on education. We will be faced with decisions like this on infrastructure. And it's very sad that internally in the political system there is agreement. But we don't have the guts to make this agreement public. So that was what made me sad about the nuclear deal. I think if we are to actually take advantage of the way the world is moving, political leaders from all parties will have to help in constructing the consensus. So that was what my speech in Parliament was about. That's what I meant. I mean, people laughed at it in the hall when I said, look, I speak as an Indian. But what I was actually saying there was what I had heard from a lot of young MPs in the BJP, what I had heard from a lot of young MPs in the other parties, you know, even from the left, not so young MPs from the left. And I was just actually saying something that a lot of people in the House believed in, but didn't say. That we agree with this, but for some reason the senior leadership isn't taking the curtains off. So we have to start thinking, if we really want to become a superpower, we have to stop thinking about